Ships over the horizon. Wolfie 6020 believes the only possible explanation is Earth curvature. And I agree. That Earth curvature is one explanation. But as a truth seeker, why would we only explore one possibility? I acknowledge that it could be due to the Earth curvature. But deep down in my intuition or gut feel or medulla oblongata or whatever you want to call it, I suspect this is not the reason. It just doesn't gel with me. On the top right, notice the horizon line. The closest ship is right on the horizon. But look at Yellowstone. It's obstructed by roughly 5 meters, and yet it is only 1 mile further away. 1 mile further away, 8 inches of obstruction. Barely noticeable, not 5 meters of obstruction. And look at the Hanag Yan Spirit. It's probably obstructed by 10 meters or so, yet it's only 3.4 nautical miles further away. 3.4 nautical miles is about 4 normal miles, which is only about half a foot of obstruction. How does half a foot of obstruction turn into 10 meters? And to quote Wolfie, there's not 8 meters of waves out there. So it's inconsistencies like these that don't sit well with me. A closed-minded glober will make up an excuse for this inconsistency and be content. Well, I'm never content. In the top left image, the artist is talking about 0-point perspective, where the horizon line has perspective, where the horizon line has no point, so the lines across his canvas get closer and closer together until they form a straight line. Why? Because our eyes can't see forever. All the lines eventually compress or converge into one line. Now, look back to the top right. The waves in the foreground are easy to see, but the waves towards the horizon get harder and harder to see. The ocean waves are forming a type of 0-point perspective horizon line, similar to the artist's canvas on the top left. Can we see any ocean past this line? No, we can't. Globers will say this is due to the curve of the Earth, and that is one option that explains it, but it is not the only option. Anyone who says curve is the only option, in my book, is scared to investigate other options because they are invested in the globe. Same applies to a flat earther who states it must be perspective. The correct response is let's investigate all possibilities and rule nothing out. I'm not invested in a globe or a flat earth. Both possibilities make me happy. Globe means space travel is possible, and that's exciting. Flat means the possibility of new lands past the ice wall. Both things make me happy. But my curiosity makes me want to know. The answer should not have any inconsistencies. We need to investigate until there are no inconsistencies. I do not believe either side has reached this point yet. The truth should not fear investigation. The bottom left image is our classic single-point perspective, which doesn't apply to the ocean. However, it does apply to a ship. The further the ship moves away, the smaller it gets until it vanishes. Now let's compare two different ships over the horizon footage. The one on the left is Wolfie's, and he is adamant the reason is the curve of the Earth. You will notice that the ship appears to go below that horizon line. I understand why globers come to the conclusion that the curve is the reason. Seems obvious. Everyone knows this is the answer, right? Well, our Earth is not always obvious, and there are a number of factors at play in the footage. We'll get to these in a sec. Now, look at the footage on the right. Links to the original videos will be in the description. Notice how the ship never goes below the crossing. Another one of those damned inconsistencies. My gut is screaming at me now saying, wow, why is that? Globers are saying, whatever it is, there's probably a perfectly good explanation that doesn't upset my view of the world. Well, that's a closed-minded attitude. Let's investigate. Let's figure this out like it's a puzzle. Puzzles are fun. Okay, let's introduce two concepts. The first is camera angle on the bottom left and objects behind an obstruction bottom right. If the camera height is lower than the target object can and will appear lower and lower until it disappears behind the obstruction altogether. This is all camera angle. That's all it is. If the camera angle is raised above the height of the target, everything changes. This is similar to Wolfie's camera at 8 meters is filming, which is taller than 8 meters. The Triple E container ship, the biggest container ship in the world, is 73 meters high. So obviously the ship is higher than 8 meters. So because the camera is lower than the top of the ship moving away from the horizon line will appear lower and lower. Similar to the Coke bottles on the right, where if the camera is lower than the top of the Coke bottle, it will appear to get smaller and smaller. Yet my floor is flat. It's not sloping away. Same as the ocean. The ocean's flat, but ships can appear to get smaller and smaller behind the horizon line. But there is no obstruction, I hear you say. Okay, well good. So you acknowledge that an obstruction would create this effect. So the question is, where's the obstruction? Well, that is probably the most contentious part. Because on a calm day, it doesn't look like there is an obstruction. The key is to observe the horizon on a stormy, wild day. If you have witnessed this, you would have seen waves on the horizon. A beautiful and haunting sight where the ocean is so violent, the horizon line changes to a wavy line because the waves are bigger. So our eyes can make out more detail than a single straight line when the ocean is calm. The obstruction is a couple of things. Wave height. Woofy said the swell was 2.9 metres. Add wind waves on top of that, you'll get to about 4 metres of obstruction. Where people are going wrong is they are thinking about 4 metres uniform across the surface, like as if you were standing side on and seeing a straight line. You're forgetting about perspective through the camera. Remember, we're looking at the ship front on and not side on. Through the camera, the waves compress up to a single horizon line. We can't see any water past this horizon line. Atmospheric distortion also creates obstructions at the horizon line. Now let's go back to perspective. When an artist draws a painting of a landscape in front of them, they draw it like it's sloping upward to match how our eyes view the world. If we saw everything dead level, all we would actually see is a straight line. There needs to be a visual angle to the objects we are looking at to make out any detail. So a front-on view of a ship is completely different to a side-on view of the same ship. Until we see and others are making. We don't view the ocean as a flat bit of water from side on. Perspective creates the illusion of looking uphill until we see the horizon line. At the horizon line, there's an obstruction caused by swell, waves, and atmospheric conditions, and objects behind this horizontal line appear to get smaller and smaller. Again, could the Earth curvature be an explanation for this? Absolutely. I fully ignore that. What I'm trying to do is investigate other reasons why this is happening. So from a visual angle point of view, we have two things going on at once. The ocean waves get closer and closer together, like in 0-point perspective, until all we can see is the horizon line, and we can't see water any further. Then, when a ship is beyond this horizon line, beyond the point at which we can no longer make out any detail on the waves, the ship appears still quite big to us. It has a high visual angle between the top and bottom of the ship, so it appears big to our eyes. We have therefore two competing and distinct perspectives, one of the water and one of the ship. The water is a 0-point perspective and the ship is a single-point perspective. One of the is a single-point perspective. One of the waves terminating at the horizon and the other of the large ship sinking further and further behind the obstruction. Now remember earlier we were able to model this in small scale, so there is no reason to dismiss this explanation. Is it different to mainstream science? Sure. But so what? Open your mind. As far as I can make out, there are less inconsistencies with this explanation than the curve. The problem with the curve explanation is that when we look at how much is obstructing the ships, it doesn't match the curve calculator. Is this the absolute answer on this topic? No. Will our knowledge change and adapt over time with new observations? Of course it will. It'd be great to be able to shine a laser to the far ship and have it reflect at a point below the obstruction. That would help support my explanation. Not sure the ship's captain would be impressed though, but so what? These things are important. I hear, you're not buying it. Prove it, you ask. Okay. Let's look at ships over the horizon on a calm day and see what we see. In this footage, after 15 minutes of sailing away from the camera, I roughly calculate the ship to be about 10 kilometres further away. Over 10 kilometres, that should be about 3 metres of obstruction after 15 minutes of sailing. Just a rough estimate, but the point is, we should see it going over the curve. We should see some of that boat obstructed. The Earth's curved after all. But we don't. It actually looks like it is above the waterline, significantly. It does not ever drop below the horizontal line. Inconsistency. Why is that? Let's investigate. My guess is it's a calmer day. The obstruction is less swell, less wind waves, clearer seeing day, lesser atmospheric effects. Whatever is the reason, we have footage of a boat that never goes below this horizon line. If the Earth was curved, after 15 minutes, we would see this ship starting to be obstructed by the curve of the Earth. But we don't see that. And it's these inconsistencies that keep driving me towards trying to come to an explanation of what's going on. Thanks for watching.
Well, I got a new website, so I decided to make this song. You can check it out at conspiracymusicguru.com. Yeah, don't forget that domain name, cause I don't want to have to remind you again. Just find the link in the box below, click it, and to the site you'll go. Yeah, and when you get there, you'll find my tunes about satellites that hang on balloons, about the fact that we didn't go to the moon. I hope you visit my site real soon, so let me give you that name again, because I want you to be my conspiracy friend. ConspiracyMusicGuru.com, a place where conspiracy music belongs. Yeah. Well, you can sign up